who has, like I asked him, did you get that concept of a perfection at home, which basically means, helping people to get in the habit of chanting japa in their homes and doing kirtan with family members and honoring prasadam. Who has, whoops. Like I asked him, did you get that concept That's enough from you, Gauradas. Quiet.
Genie in the bottle.
So he in Vrindavan, he found under the glass of Prabhupada's table that Devi Shakti maintains an article from the 1950s. Rupanuga found this article entitled "Perfection at Home," and he was saying that this is the concept of Yari Deka Tarikaha Krishna Upadesha Maragya Guru Honatari Desh, that everyone should take responsibility to be guru in their vicinity. This is what perfection at home means. It doesn't mean that we necessarily have to have gurus traveling all over the. I mean, Lord Chaitanya told Kurma Brahman to go back to his home, even though he wanted to travel with him, right, and take sannyas. So he addressed that. He was saying that is how. Pardon?
That's nice. Very nice.
That's how the Sankirtan movement will spread.
Yeah, I like the way he said the other night about, encouraging the Indian people to preach.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that we can do that,
And then he glorified Purna Pragya Prabhu's book. He's written a new book on science, I don't know, 150 pages or something. And it actually reminded me, I felt guilty because he sent that book for me to look at like a month back. And I have not, so I'm guilty as charged.
Are we talking about the husband of Narayani?
I don't know if he's the husband.
Narayani Devi Dasi. They used to be.
I know who she is. I don't know where her husband is.
I think they were married, Purna Pragya and her. Yeah.
Purna Pragya has produced many books.
Yes, that's him. Yeah, I think they have a son actually. Yeah.
So he sent me a PDF of that, and Rupanuga Prabhu was raving about it, and he was also questioning, like, why we don't hear more from the Bhaktivedanta Institute, because he was like one of the founders of that. He made Sadaputa a devotee. And so I was writing Gyanadas, now known as Nimi Maharaj, hurry, please come. I was doing that behind the scenes because after Pradyumna and myself asked him many questions, then he said, well, where's everybody else? Is there anybody else that wants to ask questions? I don't have you in my WhatsApp, so it's not like I can just summon you immediately. It's easy for me to summon. Yeah. So anyway, while he was talking, I was sending out messages to about 20, 30 devotees.
As you do.
I mean, I really wanted to hear the lecture, but I knew that would please him if more people came forward.
Yeah, sure.
To discuss. So it gives me joy to see him.
That's great.
And I don't want to say coming alive, because of course he's always alive. And I mean, for 82 years old, he's like fired up. He's got a lot of vigor. Yeah.
That's great. I mean, Rasangi and I went to tea with Shyamasundar on Friday.
Nice.
And that was just so incredible. He's up here in the mountains in Santa Cruz. And, I mean, I can see how he was so close to Prabhupada, because he's got a heart that is just so huge and so unique, so open, so soft, so kind, none of that kind of ram it down your throat stuff, just such a different kind of personality. And I can just see how it was so entirely safe for George. And it was so sweet. He gave us his book and he wrote the most beautiful inscription in it. And it's very hard for me not to cry through the whole thing. There's so much detail. And there's such a lot of detail about George, that's so intimate. I didn't realize that Prabhupada actually went to Friar Park, to George's last home. And it was there that George showed him over the whole place, and started talking to George about the spiritual world, and George was just like totally a goner. And at that point he said, I want to buy you a place, I want to buy you an ashram, after that afternoon. And it was at that time when Prabhupada was there, he pulled over a harmonium and sung these incredible songs, and inspired George to write the songs.
Prabhupada did some bhajan.
Yeah. I mean, this book is so good, Gaura. It's so good. I mean, it's just, you've got to hand it to Shyamasundar. I mean, the way that he's a very good writer, and the detail in it is like, but it's so full of heart. That's the thing you pick up. It's very different from Hari Sari's kind of diary, then we did this, then we did that. Shyamasundar is so spicy. He's so real. He's so, he's so honest about where he's at. He's not someone that just puts on robes and pretends to be something. He just is who he is, and it's so refreshing. And
There's
Yes, very real and very jokey with George. They were very jokey together, and had loads of fun together, and then they'd sort of rein it back in to Krishna.
I can't remember in which volume it was where George said something which sounded like he was minimizing Prabhupada or equating Prabhupada with someone lesser, and Shyamasundar grabbed George like this and he put him up against the wall, like almost ready to slug him. And George said, well, I can definitely tell you don't hang out with me because of my money.
You see, that's that kind of wittiness he had, which was so real. Somehow, when we were kind of boot camp, we would lose that. We've all talked about it, losing the heart, losing the fun, losing the genuine friendship with each other. I mean, I have a girl that I brought to the movement, and she used to lay out a plate of prasadam and massage my feet when I came home off Sankirtan, and we've been friends ever since. She became a Jagannath Pujari, and because it was a human relationship, it was very human, and we often lost that, the human touch. It was like, it was all boot camp.
I'd never met Shyamasundar before. I just knew him as this legend, and I think I told during one of our reading sessions how I kept hearing, hey, Gaura Prabhu, are you going to the Pune Yatra? Are you going to the Pune Yatra? This is when I went to get some of my teeth done at Chaupati. And I was there for a couple of weeks. Pune Yatra, what's that? And your god brothers and god sisters are going to be there. Gurudas, Shyamasundar, Malati is going to be there. And I said, that sounds definitely worth sticking around for. Yeah, I'm in. I'm coming to the Pune Yatra. And then after Shyamasundar spoke and Malati spoke, and I think either Niranjan Swami or Radhana Swami spoke, then someone said to me, okay, Gaura Prabhu, it's time for you to go and speak. And I'm like, what? I'm not in the category of these. Are you like, is this a joke or what? And I just became overwhelmed with anxiety, and because it was a big Vyasasan that they had, and there was 2,000.
They're a hard act to follow.
Yeah, 2,000 devotees sitting there at I think his name is Vrindavan Chandra's home. I can't remember what his name is. Krishna Chandra. I don't remember his name. Anyway, as I was going by, feeling like I was going up to the gallows. Up to the wings, off to the side, there was like sort of an overhang there, a tarp where you could sit in the shade, and Shyamasundar was sitting there, and I said, why are they asking me? And he said, you'll do just fine. And so I just, I felt some reassurance, and I went up and I expressed, how, there were many factors that contributed to my wanting to meet Srila Prabhupada, but one of them certainly was hearing the name of Krishna through John and George's songs. And And I said always would have liked to have thanked George, or and I was actually getting overwhelmed with emotion while I was sitting up there, because they had Guru Das and Shama Sundar Malati. They talked a lot about George, and you know how they were cultivating him, and how he was facilitating them to make their recordings, and the whole Hare Krishna explosion in the UK. And you know, I got to realization while I was up there that actually, of course, George isn't here anymore, and I don't even think that George would want me to offer my obeisances to him, you know, knowing how.
No, he's very, yeah, very private. But I mean, he was Vartman Pradatya Guru to thousands of people.
Yeah. So
Actually,
well,
yeah,
I'll just finish. I'll just finish.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
just said, so I, you know, I really should offer my obeisances to the three Grahasta couples that, you know, that went in and just lived under a bridge and lived in the loft. And I got off the, I was struggling to hold the tears back. I was, I was getting choked up. I got off and I paid my obeisances to them. And as I was walking back past Shama Sundar, he said, "You gave the best talk of all." Of course, I didn't believe that, but he was just hearing his words, I could see what a kind and loving person he is. But sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't
No,
mean.
I think that's the takeaway is that is who he is and who he has remained. He's 80,
Wow.
actually. Yeah, he doesn't look like it at all. I mean, I was amazed when I heard that afterwards. I mean, he's a little, you know, he's had COVID and he feels like he might have kind of long COVID. He feels a bit zonked. But yeah, I mean, it was just such a delight, and you know, just hearing the detail about Prabhupada's interaction with George is just so incredible, because you know, I bought those albums very early on, you know, living in the material world, and
Hot off the press, as soon as it came out.
yeah, exactly. And you know, the songs were directly corresponding to the conversations with Prabhupada.
Mhm.
And that's what, you know, Shama Sundar elucidates on. And it's fascinating because, you know, in that way, you can think back to your own early life and how attracted to the principles that were in those lyrics, and now realize how they were Prabhupada and George's direct conversations.
Mhm.
So it's just wonderful. It's just so potent. I can't wait to carry on reading it. Actually, it was Rasangi who's so sweet, because she knows the devotee where Shama Sundar's living, and it's way up there in the mountains. You know, way up there. And this woman devotee is called Kanka.
I know her. Yeah.
Yeah, she's very nice. So it's Farup's wife, from before they were together, have children together. Yeah, she's lovely, actually. And she goes over to SLV because it's not that far from her. Yeah. So anyway, back to Rupanuga. You know, it's interesting to me that you touched on this subject, that these GBC feel that they're there for life. It would be like our congressmen being there for life or something, you know, especially if they can't kind of get voted out, if they're a bit, you know.
Well, I asked him about that. I said, "Why do
Yeah.
you?" I said, "I don't want you to speculate on what Srila Prabhupada was thinking, but why do you think Prabhupada originally said every 3 years they should be voted on, and then later he reverted to no, they have a service for life unless they fall down or unless they resign." He
Mm.
said another interesting thing too. He said that it's actually the responsibility of the temple devotees to elect their temple president. And if the temple president wants to resign, then the temple devotees should try to convince him not to. In other words, the temple devotees actually had they
A
had
voice. Yeah.
it
A
wasn't like
democratic kind of system.
dictatorship
Yeah.
like like I've seen ISKCON for so many years.
We can't say we didn't try. I mean, Baudak tried enormously with the reform mission,
Yeah,
back in the day. And it burnt him out. It destroyed him.
I saw. I was there in
Yeah.
1985 in Vrindavan when they.
Yeah. Hmm.
Anyway, yeah, Rupanuga. I said, so why do you think Prabhupada changed his
Mm.
concept for life? No, for every 3 years, and then life term as a GBC. And he said, well, he said, it's just like these politicians today. He said, they spend so much of their time making sure that they get voted in for
Mm.
another term. He said there would have been a lot more politics if you would have been. He said it would have been a mess if you were changing everybody every 3 years.
Mm. Mm.
That was his opinion.
Yeah, but by the same token, people can become entrenched, and I don't know, do they get salaries for their
Therefore,
positions?
therefore, your point earlier
Yeah.
about benched, he said
Yeah.
there was something called a privilege committee. And the privilege committee that Prabhupada established was that if there's an issue with somebody, and he gave the example of Sulochan Prabhu, the one,
Yeah,
and
I know.
how Kirtanananda, his wife Yamuna, not the old Yamuna, but
Yeah, yeah.
Kirtanananda,
Yeah.
he, she took initiation from Kirtanananda, but Sulochan wanted to have a say in that,
Yeah.
who, and he didn't want her to take, and he was angry.
I know. I was friends with him. Yeah.
Hey, you know much better than me.
I do.
So,
No, that is not right. But I did know him.
so Rupanuga was brought in to be as
Mm.
a member of the privilege committee, which I understand is maybe morphed into what's called ISKCON Resolve,
Yeah.
which myself I found really didn't have any teeth because when I had an issue with another devotee, they couldn't really do anything about it because the other person wasn't willing to be cooperative. Anyway, he resolved that issue and he said that actually Kirtananda was in the wrong for initiating her without her husband's consent agreement. And Kirtananda got angry at Rupanuga for not taking his side, for standing up for Sulochan. So interesting. I was thinking, well, where has that privilege committee gone? Because I said, what do you do? Exactly the point you're making when you were saying if a GBC
Yeah.
becomes then what? Then I said, what do you do if some GBC becomes like a dictator and bans people indefinitely, or abuses his power? And that's when he brought up the point. Like if you've got someone entrenched and they're abusive, what do you do? And then so his point, and then he actually quoted. He said, Prabhupada said that a GBC could have a skyscraper with 200 assistants um, in order to deal with so many issues in ISKCON. The point he was making is that Prabhupada wanted us to take very seriously these falling outs amongst devotees. Not that we just shove them under the rug or, forget about the devotee that gets banned or thrown out or,
It
because he,
seems they've only taken, reforming actions if there's been external legal pressure, like in the child abuse situations and this type of a thing. I'm not sure that they have internal mechanisms for arbitration.
well, now they've created, I tried it myself, and also Sevananda Prabhu was into it, and Krishna Lolia was into it, to create a ministry of Srila Prabhupada's disciples. Because after working with 900 Prabhupada disciples over the last 11 years and interviewing them and getting to know them, the more I would do that, I realized, wow, there's such a big gap between the rank and file and the 23 or 30, however many GBCs there are. They seem like to be in two different worlds.
I seem to remember you did have some kind of sort of grouping where you would try to address these issues at Mayapur, coming from these sort of 1,000 or so devotees out in the world. And you had heard so many of their issues over the years. And you had some kind of lobbies, not the right word, but sort of group that would approach the GBC on these issues. I guess that didn't go anywhere, or you weren't given any.
So first of all, when I spoke to like a couple of local GBC deputies, Praharna, Krishnadas, and I suggested, I'd like to help create a ministry for Srila Prabhupada's disciples, and I was told, oh, ministry, like, we don't have any money for a ministry. Ministry means money. And I thought, like, really? It does? Like, because maybe
it never used to.
maybe I'm just naive. I never equated. I was thinking voice. That thousands of Prabhupada disciples, they have brilliant realizations. They have had so much experience, personal association with Srila Prabhupada. They've been temple presidents. They've been head pujaris, head Sankirtan leaders. They know so much. And the GBCs often seem to be involved in crisis management. Well, like, did you ever think that, there's 900 Prabhupada disciples here? Maybe if you show that you have some interest in them, maybe they'll become interested in helping you too. That's how I was thinking. So when I walked up to so in 2015, we called a meeting of Prabhupada's disciples. We got about 20 of them to come to that meeting. And Makanlal, who was then known as Bhakti Madhurya Govindaswamy, he said, right now in Bangladesh, some disciples of Jayapataka Swami are fighting amongst themselves at one of the temples. He said, what's going to happen if one of the big Indian gurus passes away? I don't know if Jayapataka Swami has 30, 40,000, I don't know how many disciples he has. He was saying, who are going to be the Shiksha gurus? In other words, if they're fighting already right now, what's going to happen if he departs?
Mm-hmm. Or when he departs.
Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I thought, wow, yeah, okay, yeah, that's a big issue. So anyway, we created a proposal, and Ranjan Swami, he offered to be our representative. And he was in Ukraine at the time, and they were having the GBC meetings, and he was supposed to be our representative and present our idea to have a ministry of Srila Prabhupada's disciples. And but his plane got stuck in Ukraine, and so our presentation never got made, and I suppose I should have pursued further. Well, Maharaj, you can't do it at that Gaur Purnima. What about the next Gaur Purnima? But then in the meantime, a year or two later, what is called the Sabha.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
But then I feel, and Sevananda Prabhu feels, that the ministry of Srila Prabhupada's disciples became relativized, because then Prabhupada's disciples just became another department, so to speak, along with, devotees concerned about children, devotees concerned about women, the Guru Coolies, this department, that department, and it all just became under the umbrella of Sabha. So I walked up to Gopal Bhatta Prabhu. I said, excuse me, Prabhu, you may remember me from 45 years back. I was Bhakta Glan at the time. And I've created this Srila Prabhupada's Disciples, my God Brothers and God Sisters group, with the idea of giving all these devotees a voice. And I just, wanted to let you know that it exists. And he said, oh, yeah, I got a couple of colleagues in that group. I heard it's a bunch of blah, blah, blah. And I was shocked, because I thought, wow, you're the head of the strategic planning team. So you're like the head strategist that I heard is supposed to be revamping the GBC and giving ISKCON like a whole new lease on life. And that's how you respond to me after 11 years of my searching for almost 1,000 Prabhupada disciples. And I all I could respond was, wow, I have a zero policy for Vaishnava Aparad. And he said, that's good. And then he just turned around and walked away. And I was just kind of, I felt like someone had thrown a bomb at me, you know. And then I saw Nrsingananda, and I remembered, oh, he's on the Sabha, and he represents Prabhupada disciples. So I went to him. I said, Prabhu, I have you in our disciple group. I don't see you responding much there. I'm sure you're very busy. I just wanted to bring to your attention, you know, we're trying to create a ministry of Prabhupada's disciples to, you know, take advantage of their great wealth of knowledge and life experience. And he said, oh, well, you know, to tell you the truth, I'm just trying to help the devotees that are graduating out of the GBC Academy to become the next GBCs. That's really where my focus is with the new devotees or new potential GBCs. I thought, wow, doesn't seem anyone's really that interested in Prabhupada's disciples. At least two of the big leaders that I had met in Mayapur. So I became a little crestfallen, and I kind of lost some of my oomph, some of my, you know, enthusiasm to try to bridge the gap. Because even when I tried in our group to get devotees to say, like Mahatma Prabhu, he proposed, Gaura, why don't you try this? And he's on the Sabha himself. Ask all the devotees in your group whether they still consider themselves to be in ISKCON or out of ISKCON, and whatever they say they are, can you get each of them to give 2 or 3 reasons why they consider themselves in ISKCON or outside of ISKCON? But then when I did that, I won't mention their names, but a couple of devotees came in. You know, this person, he's the chairman of the GBC. He hasn't done any devotional service in 20 years, and I said, this is not the question I asked. I mean, anyway, people were just not able to follow protocol and do things. I mean, some people did, some people didn't, and I thought, you know, even if you try to facilitate the wounded and the battered and the dejected and it's like there's too much anger, there's too much bitterness, there's too much to even, like, they're shooting themselves in their own foot. You know, GBC is trying to show maybe some goodwill, you know.
I guess people lost their trust. You know, people lost their trust. They were too, you know, too hurt, and they lost their trust. Anyway, we have Narihari and Bhavatrini here.
Yes.
Yeah,
Welcome.
right on.
I think most of the people lost their interest
What do you mean?
in ISKCON. A lot of people, they just lost their interest in ISKCON. It become
Big corporate stuff.
yeah,
Very impersonal.
yeah. That's it. It
There's
become very
commissions
impersonal.
for everything,
So,
like in Ministry of this.
You
Ministry
can't
of
be friends with an imperson, and it's our nature. We're always looking for friendship and love,
Right.
and yeah.
We were a happy family, a smaller family, Prabhupada's family in the beginning.
Well,
Yeah.
even when we were a big family, we weren't always happy, but we were remembering the goal. I mean,
Well, Prabhupada will come around after everything. goes straight,
Arjuna
right?
and his brothers and Duryodhana and his brothers, they were a big happy family too. So,
When?
no, I'm just saying, family doesn't mean happy.
That's true. I know about
We
that.
got plenty of experience with that one.
Yeah, right. You find yourself in front of a judge you've never met, and he's making a decision how your wife is going to get your child, and you'll get to see him every 2 weeks, so that when you get him, he can say, "Mama, Mama, I want my mama." It's like, what? I never signed up for this. This isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was in the
Yeah.
sitting in the fire yagya in front of the deities, this was not what we agreed to. Anyway, I pulled up Prabhupada's. I was thinking, with only 5 sessions with us before Gaura Purnima, that it'd be nice just to focus for the next 5 sessions on the appearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and
Wow.
We've been
and
listening to. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that Rupanuga Prabhu has really been stressing the importance of hearing Prabhupada's lectures. Like, it was really nice to hear, because he was saying reading Prabhupada's books is one thing, but when you hear Prabhupada speaking, with great enthusiasm, then there's like kind of there's an aspect or an element there that's, I mean,
remember he said, audio is even better. Is at best is that when you get everything, the video.
Well, better
audio
is if you
of course
are really there in person.
yeah.
Best.
Yeah, we have to have our spiritual bodies for that. So we'll
He's-
have to settle for this.
He sat in front of Prabhupada practically, like for all of Prabhupada's lectures from 1966 to 68, sitting in front of Prabhupada hearing his lectures every day. Amazing, huh? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So did a bunch
I had
of
a
them.
little taste of that when I was in Los Angeles. Prabhupada was there 4 months at a time, and so every day going to hear him lecture was just
I imagine 2 years.
normal. Yeah, but that was 4 months at a time. Then he'd leave and come back. So yeah, and also Prabhupada left Rupanuga too, but yeah, I didn't experience the same intensity because I didn't have a personal relationship with Srila Prabhupada
So
like his.
did Rupanuga come? Did you had a meeting with him today, or?
hour and 45-minute talk with him today.
Okay.
Was it broadcast?
I have it recorded. We're still working on editing the 5-hour talk. What to speak.
Okay.
Hour and 45 minutes or so. And I asked Rupanuga, when are you ready to go again? He said, anytime you want.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah.
wanted to ask him because I made a mistake I said on November he called, but no, he called us actually in May or something like that, or 77 to Montreal. He called Hanuman. And
So did he give a?
I was.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were finished. He called Hanuman. Okay.
He called Hanuman and said, Prabhupada is asking you to come and tell everybody to come to your family, of course, and included me and like that. But that did he said he stayed till the end with Srila Prabhupada, because there was some like Kirtananda, when Prabhupada said, "Oh, I'll stay 10 more years," he left. He said, "Okay, great." So, but I think Rupanuga stayed till the end.
Shangi, Haribol.
I'm trying to hear your question, Hari. It just got cut off. Hare Krishna Rasangi.
Hare Krishna, did he?
I want to start.
No, I was wondering if you asked him.
We're already
if
40.
He stayed all throughout.
We're 45 minutes late and starting. But
Sorry, I'll shut up.
I'm recording everything so you can hear it all. Okay, so as far as I know, Nandapatni and I are available to read. It looks like Rasangi, you're driving, correct?
Driving.
Yeah, and it looks like Nurhari and you're busy driving,
but
right?
Jenny can read.
He can
I'm not driving. I'm passengering.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So let's find this is Mayapur, Prabhupada, Mayapur, 1975, and this is a famous verse. I was told very important to memorize. I'm sure most of you know it already, except for me. This is Nitai when he was still in good terms with Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And then he quotes, Anarpitacharim chirat karunaya vatirna kalau Payitum unnatad udvallarasam svabhakti shriyam Haripuratta sundaraduti kadamba sandipitaha sada hridaya gandhare spuratau vasachinandana. So that's the fourth verse in the first volume of the Ādi-līlā, and the translation for that is, may that Lord who is known as the son of Srimati Sachi Devi be transcendently situated in the innermost chambers of your heart. Resplendent with the radiance of molten gold, he has appeared in the age of Kali by his causeless mercy to bestow what no incarnation ever offered before. That is the most sublime and radiant spiritual knowledge of the mellow taste of his service. So Nandapatni, would you like to read a couple of paragraphs?
Okay. This is the blessing of Sri Rupa Goswami upon everyone. ЩrīCaitanya-caritāmṛta, Shtapitam yena bhutale, Swayam Rupa Kadamayam, Dadati Swa Padantikam. We should pray to Rupa Goswami for his blessings so that we can understand what is the actual position of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the most merciful incarnation to bestow upon us Krishna Prem. Srila Rupa Goswami understood it. Srila Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya understood it. And we should take their viewpoint of view, what they have studied about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Srila Rupa Goswami says, in the beginning, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was appreciated by Srila Rupa Goswami as Mahavadanyavatar. There are many incarnations of Krishna. Keshavadrita Meena Sharira Jaya Jagadish Hare, Keshavadrita Nrishimarupa Jaya Jagadish. Many incarnations. But this incarnation, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is Anapita Chirim Chirat. The mercy of this incarnation is unlimited. It was never given before. That is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. He distributed the most confidential part of love of Godhead. And although we are living in this fallen age, Kali Yuga, he is giving the topmost platform of loving Krishna, Anapita Charim Chirat. Therefore, he is supposed to be the most munificent incarnation. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate, Ādi-līlā 1953. He is giving directly Krishna Prem.
It is very difficult. Oh, Baba Trini. It is very difficult.
It is very difficult to
Baba
understand Krishna. It is very difficult to understand Krishna. And what to speak of his loving affairs, it is very difficult. Manushayanam sahashrenu kachidyatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kachit veti mam tatvata. Krishna personally says that it's very difficult to understand him. Actually, it is so, but Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy is so unlimited that it is helping not only to understand Krishna, but also he is giving directly love of Krishna and the supermost platform of love as it was experienced by the gopis. Is that 2 paragraphs or one? The gopis dealing with Krishna is considered to be the topmost. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he recommended Ramya Kachid Upashana Vraja Vada Vrajena Ya Kalpita Chaitanya Manshusha Vraja Vadu, the gopis, the damsels of Vrindavan. They worship Krishna in the topmost loving affairs. They did not know anything but Krishna. For Krishna, they could sacrifice anything, their honor, their prestige, everything, their husbands, their sons, family. That is the gopis' standard. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's incarnation is accepted by Srila Rupa Goswami in many verses. One of the verses is here, Anarpitam Chartim Chirat Karuna Ya Varitana Kalo. So we should take shelter of Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu. That is the blessing of Rupa Goswami. He says, Hari Parata Sundara Duti Kadamba Sandita Sada Hridaya Kandare Surar Vasachi Nandana. I wanted to say something. We were listening to the reading of the Caitanya-caritamrta this morning by a Srila Prabhupada disciple, and it said he to give, how was it worded? He was giving for the first time
That was been given in a long
that which
time.
has not been given.
He saw
Devotional service to was
In
it
the mood
Krish
of-
in the not in the mood of gopis, imbued
No,
with
conjugal.
imbued with the mood of conjugal love. And that wasn't here. And we just heard someone reading from Caitanya-caritamrta earlier today. So we wonder.
Your face just froze. Must be getting cold out there.
Cold.
Your face froze.
Oh, my face froze. So we wondered why the two books are different.
different.
Which two are you talking about?
We have a CD of a Prabhupada disciple reading Caitanya-caritamrta.
Here you can
And the
show it.
verse we just read,
You have your fingers on.
well, the verse we just read ended with, you know, where it said he had not been given, he came to give, I don't remember the exact words, but it didn't end with devotional service. It said devotional service imbued with the mood of conjugal love. What we heard today from Caitanya-caritamrta by Srila Prabhupada. And just now, it just said imbued with the mood of not imbued.
His own devotional.
For his own devotional service, and it didn't have the phrase imbued with conjugal love or something like that.
I'm assuming you're dealing with an unedited and an edited version. That's all that comes to mind for me.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Something to say?
Reading. I
None.
can't find
Did
it.
you have something to say?
Yeah, I guess the word, yeah, I think you're right about the editing. I mean, it doesn't actually say conjugal, the word conjugal, but when I was reading it, it was talking about the most intimate knowledge that had never been given before. So it kind of implies that. But anyway, yeah.
There's 126 Prabhupada lectures on CC. Let's see how many we can read in the next 5 days. He is giving his blessing that this form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, may always remain in the core of your heart. If we simply keep Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu within our heart, then it will be very easy to understand what is Krishna. Because if you understand Krishna, then your life is successful. Janma karma chame divyang me yo janati tattvataha 4.9 Bhagavad Gita. That is only. Our Krishna consciousness movement means just try to understand Krishna, then your life is successful. Krishna says, anyone who understands me, why I come here, what is my activity, tyaktva deham punarjanma. He becomes liberated. After giving up this body, he does not accept any material body. In his own spiritual body, he goes back to home, back to Godhead. This is our Krishna consciousness. So if you don't go through Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it will be very difficult to understand Krishna. That is practical. Just like you young boys and girls from Western countries, you have taken up Krishna so seriously. Why? Because we are trying to understand Krishna through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we should follow this principle. There will be no difficulty to understand Krishna. And as soon as you understand Krishna, your life is successful. Of course, we cannot understand Krishna fully. As far as possible, at least if we try to understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this much is sufficient. This much is sufficient. Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam, Bhagavatam 1.3.28. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Matak Paratananyat Kinchidasti Dhananjaya, Bhagavad Gita 7.7. Aham Sarvasya Prabhava, Bhagavad Gita 10.8. Aham Madirhi Devanam, Bhagavad Gita 10.2. These things are there, already stated, but the so-called scholars and politicians, they misinterpret in a different way and mislead the people. That is going on. Therefore, in spite of Bhagavad Gita being read all over the world for the last 200 years, not a single person became a devotee of Krishna. This is the defect. So let us try to understand Krishna through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and as we have repeatedly said, that through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you understand Krishna and spread this cult all over the world. People are suffering for want of knowledge of Krishna. Nandapatni?
Oh, it's me. So this movement is especially meant to establish the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is that you become, every one of you, you become a guru. How to become a guru? Now, Yara Deke Tara Kaha Krishna Upadesh in the Ādi-līlā of Caitanya-caritamrta, 7:128, simply that qualification is sufficient. Don't adulterate the Krishna Upadesh. You simply present what Krishna says as it is. Then every one of you will become a guru. Don't adulterate. I think, in my opinion, these nonsense things should be given up. We should always be aware that we are an insignificant creature. Our opinion and thinking has no value. This should be the first principle. Why should you give opinion on the words of Krishna? Are you a more authoritative person than Krishna? This is foolishness to try to become more than Krishna. There are so many rascals. They present that now we have advanced. We know more than Krishna. So be saved from these rascals, and then you'll understand Krishna. And through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you'll understand what is the position of Krishna, what is your relationship with Krishna, what is the ultimate goal of life. These things are clearly exhibited. And ЩrīCaitanya-caritamrta is written for this purpose, so that a person who's serious about Krishna consciousness may understand Krishna through the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is wanted. You cannot jump over Krishna consciousness without going through the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And to go through Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu means to go through the 6 Goswamis. This is the parampara system, just in time. Therefore, Narottam Das Thakur says, H.I. Gosai Jar Tamuhidas Sa Sabarapadarena Mora Panchagras. This is the parampara system. You cannot jump over. You must go through the parampara system. You have to approach through your spiritual master to the Goswamis. And through the Goswamis, you will have to approach Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And through Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you have to approach Krishna. This is the way. Therefore, Narottam Das Thakur has said, H.I. Goshai Jar Tamuhidas.
Bhavatrini?
Okay, I can read. I'm parked.
Okay,
Bhavatrini had to talk to the shopkeeper.
Thank you.
We are servant of servant. That is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instruction. Gopi Bhartu Pada Kamalayor Dasa Dasa Nudasa. Caitanya-caritamrta Madhya 1380. The more you become servant of the servant, the more you are perfect. And if you all of a sudden want to become master, then you go to hell. That's all. Don't do that. This is the teaching of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If you go through the servant, then you are advanced. And if you think that you have now become master, then you are going to hell. This is the process. Dasa nudasa. I'm sorry. Okay. That's all. Don't do that. That is the teaching of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If you go through the servant, that you are advanced. If you think that you have become master, I'm so sorry. The phone keeps ringing. Servants, 100 times servants. Now that means that he's advanced. And one who is becoming directly master, then he is in the hell. So anarpita charim chirat. So we should always remember the instructions of Srila Rupa Goswami. Therefore we pray, ЩrīCaitanya-caritāmṛta stapitan yena bhutale. Our mission is to establish the desires of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That is our business. ЩrīCaitanya-caritāmṛta stapitan yena bhutale. Srila Rupa Goswami did it. He has given us so many books, especially Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which we have translated into English as Nectar of Devotion, to understand the science of devotional service. This is the greatest contribution of Srila Rupa Goswami, how to become a devotee, how to become a devotee. It is not sentiment, it is a science, it is science. This Krishna consciousness movement is a great science. Yad Yad Vijnana Samambitam Jnanam Me Paramam Guhyam Yad Vigyasa Samambitam. It is not sentiment. If you take it as sentiment, then it will create disturbance. This is the instruction of Rupa Goswami. He says, Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatrikis Vidim Vina Aikantiki Harer Bhaktir Patayaiva Kalpate.
That's it.
Okay.
That's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu.
1, 2, 1, 1. Yeah, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1, 2, 201.
Jai. Now,
you know what is beautiful? The Gauranga Bolite Have Prabhupada's explanation of the song is all to do with this. We were just reading. Maybe one day we can play it, or maybe you can play it, and we can hear Prabhupada.
Next time, but they're usually not here. I mean, I guess it depends.
Okay.
Because I usually start the bhajan at the very beginning, but there's almost nobody on time.
Yeah.
Okay, I know where it is.
Okay.
So Vajrani is back. So if you want her to read, or
well, I have to give you directions.
Okay.
Okay. Could you please put yourself on mute so we can continue advancing? Thank you. ЩrīCaitanya-caritamrta Ādi-līlā 1.5. This is recorded March 29, 75. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir Hladini Shakti Rasmad Ekatmanavapi Bhuvi Puradeha Bedam Gatautau Chaitanya-kyam prakatam aduna tadvayam chaikyam aptam Radha Bhavaduti Suvalitam Naomi Krishna Swarupam. Ādi-līlā 1.5. The loving affairs of Sri Radha and Krishna are transcendental manifestations of the Lord's internal pleasure-giving potency. Although Radha and Krishna are one in their identity, they separated themselves eternally. Now these two transcendental identities have again united in the form of Sri Krishna Chaitanya. I bow down to him who has manifested himself with the sentiment and complexion of Srimati Radharani, although he is Krishna himself, Nanda Patni.
That is just such a mystery. It remains such an incredible mystery that they're the two, although, you know, predominantly Radharani is being manifest through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's totally mind-boggling. So another feature of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is described here by the author Kaviraj Goswami. In the beginning, he has been described as the ultimate absolute truth, Sadaishvarya Purnaya Bhagavan. The absolute truth realized in three phases. The ultimate phase is Bhagavan, Sadaishvarya Purna. Bhagavan means full of six opulences. Not as nowadays there are so many Bhagavans. They have no Aishvarya. But Bhagavan means Sadaishvarya Purna, full opulences, six kinds of opulence. Then that Bhagavan, Supreme Personality of Godhead, has descended as incarnation Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just to bestow the topmost understanding of loving affairs of with Krishna. Samapayitam unata ujvala rasam swabhakti shriyam. In the bhakti platform, there are different stages. Spiritually, there's no difference. One is dasya rasa, one is madhurya rasa. There's no difference. But a devotee likes to serve the Supreme Lord according to his inclination. Some wants to love him in shantaras, some wants to love him in dasyaras, someone in friendly, then paternal love, then conjugal love. So there's no difference between these different phases of loving affair, but great devotees and learned scholars, they have given their decision that the loving affairs of Krishna in the conjugal platform between husband and wife, or above that between lover and beloved, that is very much prominent in the Western countries, friend, boyfriend, girlfriend. In the spiritual world, that platform of remaining as friend without marriage, that is considered as the highest. And whatever we see here is a perverted reflection of that loving affairs, just like perverted reflection.
Bhavatrini or Nrihari, or you're both able to read now?
Sorry, Prabhu, go ahead. Skip me now. Skip us for that.
Okay. And I'm assuming Rasangi is still not able to read, so she'll let us know when she can.
Little bit.
It is described in the Bhagavad Gita, Urdhva Mulam Adho Shaka Ashvatam Prahur Avyayam. This material world has been described as having its root up, Urdhva Mulam Adho Shaka, and the branches down. We have several times explained this Urdhva Mulam Adho Shaka. In the material world, this is a shadow. Unless it is a shadow, how the mulam, or the root, can be upwards? We have got experience, a tree on the bank of a river. The tree is reflected, Adho Shaka, on the root upwards. Shadow. So this is shadow. Real thing is in the spiritual world. Therefore, it is called Adho Shaka. Shaka. In the spiritual world, the topmost part is this conjugal love. And here, the same thing. When pervertedly reflected, it is the lowest abominable. We should know this, that in the spiritual world, to remain as girlfriend and boyfriend, that is the topmost pleasure. And in the material world, the same thing is the most abominable thing. Therefore, it is Adho Shaka. We cannot imitate the loving affairs of Radha and Krishna and Radharani unless we understand the real fact. The real fact is described here that Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir Ladini Shakti. Shakti means potency. So from Vedas we understand that the Lord, the Supreme Person, has got multi-energies. Shaktir Dividhaiva Shriyate Svabhavaki Jnana Balakriyacha Natasya Karyam Karanam Cha Vidyate Natatchamast Abhyadikascha Drishyate. That's actually taken from the Svetashvatara Upanishad, but it's being attributed to the Ādi-līlā. So these energies, Krishna or the Supreme Personality of Godhead has got multi-energies. When Arjuna requested Krishna, will you kindly explain some of the energies as you display? So in the Bhagavad Gita, there is a list of his different energies. And at last it is concluded, Atava bahu naitena kim gyatena tavarjuna vishtabhyam idam kritshnam ekangshena shtito jagat. Bhagavad Gita 10:42, Nandapatni.
Idam kritshnam jagat, all the material manifestation. Material manifestation means these material universes. There are many. This universe, what we see, one only, the sky, the covering. But there are many millions of universes. Yasya pravavato jagat andakoti. Koti means millions. Jagat anda, jagat anda. Jagat anda means universes. So Krishna says that all these universes in the material world is display of my 1/4 energy. Just imagine what is Krishna's energy. Ekam shena shtito jagat. And we are trying to imitate Krishna. So many rascals, they declare they are Bhagavan. They do not know what is Bhagavan. Bhagavan, these universes are coming, innumerable universes are coming from the breathing of Mahavishnu. Do you want to
Yasyaika nishvasita kalamatavalamya jivanti loma vilaja jagarandanata Vishnuramahansa iha yasya kalabhishesho Govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami. Brahma Samhita 48.
Yeah, they have no idea what's Bhagavan. This is one of the descriptions of Mahavishnu, that from his breathing, innumerable universes are coming out. When he is exhaling, the universes are coming out. And when he's inhaling, everything is going within him. This is Bhagavan. So anyway, this is partial exhibition of the energy of the Lord. And this is 1/4 energy. This material world is manifestation of his 1/4 energy. The 3/4 energy are in the spiritual world. So in that spiritual world, Krishna exhibits his spiritual energy. That is only spiritual energy. This material world is made of material energy, and we are marginal energy.
So when Krishna wants to enjoy, the enjoy means these loving affairs between man and woman. That is a fact. That is not an artificial thing. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has explained, Vedanta Sutra, Janmadhyasya Yataha. He has said, Adirasasya Janmanyatra. Adiras. There are 12 kinds of rasas, mellow. All of them, the Adiras. Adiras means the loving affair between man and woman. This is called Adiras. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains, Janmadhyasya means the Adiras, loving affairs between man and woman. That is from the Supreme Person. That's a fact. Unless the loving propensity is there in the Supreme, how it can be reflected? Because this is perverted reflection only. So there must be the origin. So the Mayavadi philosophers, they cannot understand this because they've got bitter experience of this material world. They try to make jiro, or without any varieties, the ultimate goal. Shunyavadi, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi. The Nirvisheshavad, with impersonalism and voidism, they are of the same nature. The Buddhist philosopher, they say, ultimately everything is jiro. And the Mayavadi philosopher says, not jiro, but imperson. But actually, that is not fact. There is everything variety and personal. But because the philosophers with poor fundamental knowledge, they cannot understand, they make it jiro, or variety less, nirvisheshavad. That to clear the idea, our Kaviraj Goswami says that this Radha Krishna Prem, loving affairs between Radha Krishna, it is a fact. It is not imagination. It is a fact. But this fact is different from the fact we have got experience in this world. That is to be understood.
Shikaran is here, Gaura.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Better 15 minutes than not at all. Please continue, Shikarani.
Don't take just like Sahajas. They take the Radha Krishna Prem just like ordinary lusty affairs in this material world. But that is not the fact. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a verse that the loving affairs of gopis and Krishna, Vishnu, it is not ordinary thing. If one can hear from the proper source, and if he understands the real fact of Ādi-līlā, then the result will be that his heart, which is full with lusty desire, that will vanish. There will be no more lusty desires. Pranaya Vikriti. This Pranaya Vikriti Ladini. So, if anyone understands this Pranaya Vikriti, the loving affairs, transformation of different feelings, if one can understand, then his material lusty desires will vanish. This is the result. Hridaroga Kaman Apashya Aphinoti Dhira. He becomes dhira. Here in this material world, everyone is adhira, agitated by lusty desires. But in the spiritual world, they are dhira. They are not agitated by lusty desires. This is spiritual world. So long we are agitated by the lusty desires, we must know that we are in the material world. That is the test. Just like Yamunacharya says, Yat avadhi mama cheta Krishna padara vindayor nava nava rasha dhamani udyatam rantum asit. Tad avadhi bata nari sangame smaryamane bhavati mukha vikraha shustu nisthivanam cha. So long I have been engaged in the service of Krishna, and I am rendering more and more service and getting spiritual pleasure. Since then, as soon as I think of sex life, I immediately sit upon it and I hate to think of it. This is the result. So people should know what is Radha Krishna pra. If one becomes attached to Radha Krishna pranaya vikriti, then the test is that his lusty desires will vanish. This is the test.
I love the way you sang the shlok tonight.
Thank you.
You sang it like a real pandit.
Thank you. Just learned it from you.
Therefore, Kaviraj Goswami explains that this is not ordinary thing. This is the transformation of the Aladini Shakti, Samvit, Sandini, Aladini. The Supreme Lord has got three potencies or energies primarily. So this Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikriti is transformation of the pleasure potency. Krishna is described in the Bhagavad Gita Param Brahma. Param Brahma, Param Brahma, Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavitram Paramam Bhavan. That is the explanation given by Arjuna. This is called Parampara system. If we follow Arjuna, Arjuna's decision should be taken. Arjuna's decision is Krishna is Param Brahma. So the Mayavadi philosophers, they are after Brahma Sukha. Brahma Sukha Nubhutya. Brahma Sukha Nubhutya. The source of Brahma Sukha is Krishna. But they cannot reach up to that point. Itam Brahma Sukhanubhutya Tasyam Gatanam Paradaivatena Maya Sritanam Naradarakena Shakam Vijharu Krita Punya Punjaha. Bhagavatam 10, 12, 11. Nandapatni.
Here Sukadeva Goswami says, here is the Parabrahman. When he is describing Krishna's pastimes with the cowherd boys, so Sukadeva Goswami says, these cowherd boys are playing with the Supreme Person, who is the source of Brahma Sukha. Itam Brahma Sukhanam Bhutya. And for the devotees, there are two kinds of transcendentalists. One, the Brahmavadi, and the other, the Vaishnava. A Vaishnava takes this philosophy that we are a servant. Jivaras Kurupaya Nitya Krishnadas, Ādi-līlā. And the Mayavadi philosophers, they imperfectly think that they've become one with the Supreme and they've become Narayan. This is a misleading philosophy, and we do not accept that. So this Krishna being Para-Brahman, so what will be the platform of his loving affairs? This is to be considered. For Brahma Sukha, we are in the material world. We see many saintly persons and they give up everything, sannyas. Sannyas means giving up everything for the Supreme. So for simply to relish a little bit of Brahma Sukha, these saintly persons, great, great saintly persons, they're giving up everything. Tvaktva swadharmam. Swadharmam means regulated division of society, Brahma, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra. So they give up everything. Brahma Sukhanam Bhutya, to understand Tapodivyam Putrakayena Sudyed Sattva, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, for purifying the existence. And because we are after happiness, every one of us, but we are seeking happiness in a perverted reflection. That's not possible. Therefore, one has to give up this perverted happiness and come to the real fact. So our point is that because Krishna is Parabrahman, so how he can take pleasure in this material world. This is the argument. So those who are wrongly thinking, foolishly thinking that Krishna enjoyed with the gopis like we enjoyed in the company of many girls, they are great fools. They have no knowledge. They're misled. because it appears perverted reflection. It appears like that. But the reflection is different from the reality.
Nirhari Bhavatrini, are you able to read yet, or are you busy driving, or whatever? Vasangi, are you able to read yet? Srikarani, sounds like it's your turn.
Yes, sure. So we should not take in that way. We should follow the footsteps of Caitanya-caritamrta, that we should understand that this pranaya vikriti, this transformation of loving affairs between Radha and Krishna, this is not like this, the ordinary boy and girl. It is Ādi-līlā Shakti. If we take that, then we are misled. How he can take? Because for understanding Brahma Shukha, we are giving up everything. I mean, from the Mayavadi point of view. And again, Krishna being Para Brahman, how he can indulge in material happiness. This is argument. This is the argument. Brahma Shukha, to understand Brahma Shukha, to relish Brahma Shukha, if one is giving up everything material, there are three kinds of Shukha. Material Shukha, Brahma Shukha, and spiritual Shukha. Brahma Shukha is on the margin. Shukha means happiness. Therefore, from logical point of view, we should conclude it that Krishna being Brahman, how he can indulge in material happiness. This is very important point. If for understanding little bit of Brahma Sukha, we are giving up all material enjoyment, how Krishna can enjoy materially? He is Para Brahman. Therefore, those Sahajiyas, those who are taking that Krishna is enjoying with ordinary girls, they are very, very much misled. That is not the fact. Therefore, it is said, Ladini Shakti. This is different. This is the spiritual world, that topmost mellow Ladini Shakti. So, Eko Brahma Dvitya Nasti. Brahman Para Brahman is one. Krishna is one. There is no competition with Krishna. Na tat samas chabhyatikas chadrashyate. Nobody can be equal with him. Nobody can be greater than him. Na tasya samah. Samah means equal, and adhika means greater. That is Para Brahman. That is Krishna. So Krishna says also, Matah Parataram Nanyat. There is no more superior entity than me. So we have to be carefully study. We have to carefully study Krishna. The Krishna conscious movement means to understand Krishna very scientifically. It is not sentiment. One must be very philosophically advanced with scientific knowledge. Jnanam Vijnanam. This is Vijnana. It is not sentiment. Jnanam Vijnanam Sahitam. Jnanam me paramam guhyam yad Vijnana Sambhavitam.
Do you see some kind of line on the screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
What's causing that? Any idea, Sikanani?
Maybe you have opened up Paint or something. Do you have? Maybe your screen, is it touch screen or something?
No.
I don't know then. Maybe looks
Okay.
weird though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Without Vigyan science, without philosophy, to understand Krishna is not possible. You can say that. Do you think that all the devotees, they are? Yes. The answer is yes. No, they have no degree of science or philosophy, and still, because if you learn science and philosophy, you will have to approach some person who knows the science, knows the philosophy, but the greatest scientist, the greatest philosopher is Krishna. He is within your heart. Ishvara sarva bhutanam hridike rujunatishtati. And he says, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadamyaham. Anyone who is sincere devotee and always engaged in Krishna's service, Krishna says, I give him education, intelligence. I make him scientist, philosopher. That is the way. Buddhi yogam dadami. What kind of science? What kind of philosophy? That science, that spiritual science, that spiritual philosophy, I teach him personally. Why this is so not to all. You may say that if Ishvara, the Supreme Lord, is sitting in everyone's heart, why he is especially inclined, Tesham Satata Yuktanam. One who is engaged 24 hours in his service. Why not others? So that is special mercy for the devotee. Special mercy. Tesham mivanukampartam aham agyanajam tamaha nashayam yatma bhavasta. That is the process. You cannot understand Krishna. You cannot understand God or Krishna without being a faithful servant. This is the secret. And if we become faithful servant under the guidance of proper spiritual master, then we can understand what is Krishna, what is Parabrahman, and what is loving affairs with Radharani. What is Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? These things are revealed. It is not acquired by so-called mundane knowledge. That is not possible. Swayam eva spratyada atak Shri Krishna namadi nabhaved grayam indriyai sevan mukhe hi jivadao swayam eva spratyada. That's up from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 12234 Nandapatni.
No one can understand the transcendental nature of the name, form, quality, and pastimes of Sri Krishna through his materially contaminated senses. Only when one becomes spiritually saturated by transcendental service to the Lord are the transcendental name, form, quality, and pastimes of the Lord revealed to him. Just like in the darkness, if you want the sunshine, it's not possible. But in the morning, the sun comes out automatically and the darkness is dissipated. Swayameva. So we should always remain faithful servant to Krishna. And Krishna is within everyone's heart. And he'll be pleased by your service. And he'll reveal himself, what he is. Otherwise, it's not possible. Thank you very much. Jai Prabhupada.
Jai Prabhupada.
Jai Prabhupada.
Prabhupada.
Amazing.
Does anyone have any thoughts? We're almost done. I have to leave on a drive into another. Tomorrow I'm leaving tomorrow morning, so I want to just kind of tie things up shortly, but I'd like just to hear if anyone has
Where are
any
you going?
questions.
I just had one question, like when they said nirvishesha, variety less, like I still don't understand, like what exactly does that mean, like how it can be so many. So basically, are they trying to say that in Krishna's devotion there is variety?
Certainly there's variety in devotion. There's 9 different processes of devotional service: Shravanam, hearing, chanting, remembering, offering prayers, worshiping the deity, worshiping the lotus feet of the Lord, making friends with the Lord, serving the Lord, surrendering everything to the Lord. Do you want to add something to that, Nandapatni, Bhavatrini, Nirhari, Vasangi?
That's, yeah, the nirvishesha means he has no form, he has no identity, he has no personality, everything's the same. And
Also, just one follow-up. So are they saying like those religions which vouch for God having no form, they are nirvishesha, like, right?
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
When it says no form, it means no material form. Srila Prabhupada and all the Guru Varga, they explain that it's true. He has no form, but it's no material form. But were we just reading a lecture from the very start? Because this is a little off topic, but that might be why the verse is translated without the exact same wording as the actual Caitanya-caritamrta.
Mm-hmm. They're lectures.
Yeah, it's a lecture. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So does that answer your question, Shikarani?
Yeah, so like I have seen in my interaction with people from different religion, they often make fun of this fact that you can say in Hindu philosophy or wherever, we pray different forms, like we try to do idol worship, and I guess you guys might be aware of that more than me. So I was just trying to think of how to kind of explain them, or like how to come with an answer, because they would just ridicule that, oh, you guys do idol worship.
Well, I think everyone in this forum has had a lot of experience answering that question. And I'm, I would say, well, I can say one thing. Srila Prabhupada said, no, we do not worship idols. Idol worship is forbidden. And then he gives the example of a mailbox. So there's a mailbox, and if you put your letter in it, it goes to where it's going. But if you make your own mailbox, you can put all the letters you want in it, but they don't go anywhere. So that's the difference between an idol and a actual bona fide qualified deity that's non-different from Krishna. It's authorized, and it's that's one thing. But I bet Gaura and Nandapatni and Rishangi have something amazing to say that you can say to people.
One thought that comes to me is in one of the early talks of Achyutananda Prabhu, he was saying that some kind of a psychological test was being done for people, and they would put up different images, and they were asked to throw darts at each image as it appeared. But then as soon as they put an image of a family member or someone that was beloved to them, they couldn't throw the dart. I mean, unless they really didn't like that family member, maybe. He didn't say it like that, but that's just my mentality. Anyway, in other words,
Well, you said beloved. So
yes, thank you.
you said beloved. Yeah.
So we equate the image or form of someone with that personality. We make that, there is that connection. I'm just looking at things I would have given the example you gave, but since you gave it already, I'm just looking at it from another angle, that the form of someone is representative of that person to us.
Yeah, I think, and that's also very scientific, because that's how our brain works. Like, our brain identifies, so this is a simple example. Like, I don't know if you guys know, there is, so for coming to US and doing higher education, you have to give a GRE exam, which is a vocabulary exam. And it's like, so for people whose native language is not English, you have to literally remember like 3,000, 4,000 English words. And it's like within a span of 1 or 2 months. So now what they are doing is, they are not giving like this dictionary or vocabulary. They are giving vocabulary with images, and that's very fast. Like, so all these coaching centers, they found this, that when they are giving the images to people, it's very easy for them to remember those words and vocabulary, because our brain remembers pictures more than words, just words. So I guess we can connect more if there is a form.
I remember also hearing in churches in South America. Hari, maybe you can confirm this. Of course, South America is gigantic, so it's not going to be same everywhere. But often they'll have like a deity of Lord Jesus, and they'll make a flower garland for the deity of Lord Jesus, and they'll put flower garland.
Even in India, I have seen that, even Jesus and also Mary. So I don't know, like, it's wrong to say that they don't even worship any idol or anything, because I see everywhere idols of Jesus and Mary in India.
And
but the Muslims and the fanatical born again Christians don't have any images or pictures. So they're, but that
at the same time,
but they have pictures of family members.
The building.
Right. Oh, they worship
the Mecca,
the
Gaura.
Right, the Mecca. But
there's always some need of imagery.
Yeah.
And
she had a question about nirvisation. I gave an answer, and Gaura gave an answer, and she just gave an answer to what you say.
What can I say?
But I wanted to, do you want to,
about
for
what?
preaching, people say, oh, you're idol worshippers. What would you say to someone that says we're idol worshippers? I gave the example of the mailbox. And Gaura gave the example that Chutananda gave of putting pictures up and asking you to throw darts, and if it's a beloved family member, you can't throw the dart. And she just gave the example of a test for becoming was it a citizen? You have to
Just
memorize
for
all
higher
these-
education in US. Yeah.
Oh, higher education.
Yeah.
And so now they put an image instead of having to memorize all the words because you can relate better to an image.
Always.
Yeah. So do you
Yeah.
have anything you used to do in
Well, it's
preaching?
there's been like interpretation of what idol means. And at one point, they were quoting to me engraven images that can be worshipped. But idol really means the id or us. The worship of idolatry really referred to worshiping our false ego. And so that's what is forbidden in scripture. It was always a touchy thing with the Christians going out in Sankirtan and preaching, because they had already the conception that we were idol worshippers, and they had their interpretation of it. So, but we know because like Prabhupada said, these great saints are thoroughly honest people. The pure devotees have no interest in the material world, no interest in being worshipped or worship an idol, the image of God, for some material ulterior purpose. And so in trusting the great saints, we hear that all these deities, the deities of Vrindavan, were carved by Vishwakarma, some of them, and they were when Bhadranabha, the great the grandson of Lord Krishna, his grandmother was still present, and she directed the carving. When they hit the right thing, she became very bashful. She covered her face, and so they knew they hit on the right thing. So the carving something out of their memory, not out of imagination. So yeah, there is something, we cannot just say imagine something and then worship it. That would be incorrect.
Can I say something? That one thing it says in the Bible is, "You shall have no false gods
Graven
before
image.
you."
Graven
They
image.
say graven image.
Yeah, they say
Sometimes
graven
it's
image.
translated that, and sometimes it says
There's
no
another passage.
false gods
Right.
too. But I wondered if you have time for Nagapatni or Rishangi to say something. I know you have to leave.
I want to be greedy and say one more thing. In the Bible, it says in
Nerisse, yeah, go
Matt.
ahead. Nerisse said he wasn't finished,
No,
and I
let me-
interrupted him.
Oh, okay.
Anyhow, no, I don't.
Oh, go say what you were saying, and then he'll finish. Gaura.
Yeah, in the Bible, it states that man or woman is made in the image of God. So if we're made in God's image, that must mean that God is the original image, the original form of which we are facsimiles. So God ultimately
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that was one of the things that we used to say. I forgot about that.
Prabhupada
It's very important.
in Durban, Prabhupada says, just like if we worship your leader in some picture or some statue, that is not worship. That is actually fact. You show your respect to your leader. Similarly, when we worship the deity of the Supreme Lord, it is not idol worship. It is worshiping Krishna. And I also wanted to say that, at different points in my life, I've been a pujari, and I can say it's experiential. When I was like absorbed in worshiping Jagannath or Gaura, and you're there 6 times a day doing an arti, cooking for the deities, making sure you're really pakka and clean and on time, then you can actually feel Krishna reciprocating with you within your heart. It's not just something that you imagine. You're feeling some kind of purification, some kind of bliss. I was thinking there's a group called the Arya Samaj, and they protest
Yes.
deity in the temple. They're actually atheists. Prabhupada is saying here, but who cares for them? Here in Vrindavan, there is Arya Samaj temple. Nobody goes there. But in our new temple, thousands of people are coming. Why? All of them are fools and rascals? This is exactly according to Shastra. Okay, I'll shut up.
I'll just say one thing quickly before we go. And that is, ＳrīCaitanya, that it was my experience to take sort of the temperature in the room, so to speak, you know, of the people that are approaching you. Are they actually kind of, do they really want to know? Or are they kind of semi-hostile? And,
Right.
you know, we know that our approach is Trinadapi Snicana, you know, just approaching an inquiry in the right mood. And sometimes, you know, Prabhupada didn't suffer fools gladly. If the mood was wrong, he kind of cut them off, you know. So that's what I experienced, especially on the street preaching for so many years, that it was a confrontation more than an inquiry. But I understand there can be genuine inquiry as well, which I think the other devotees here have addressed.
Sometimes if Prabhupada was asking a question, if he was asking a question, Prabhupada would say, if I tell you the answer, will you accept it?
Exactly. Yeah, I heard him saying that one. Yes. So yeah, like Nanda Padni was very correct in saying that. But I think the verse that we should remember in that one is Tadvidi pranipatina pranipashnena sevaya. So how do I approach somebody for knowledge? Devotees that have tadvidis, those who see the truth. So like Nanda Padni was saying, you have to gauge, you know, take the room temperature. Because if they're in the challenging mood, nothing you will say really will set all right. And they will continue with their arguments. And it's not a way to attain bhakti. And so, and then, you know, we confuse sometimes, you know, the spirit actually, Prabhupada wanted us to be really bold, actually, when we went preaching. So if we approach everybody very humble, they're gonna still stomp on your head, and you know they think that we're weak, but we're not weak. Devotees are not weak, neither pacifists. So if there is aggression, we'll respond equally. So that's the in that verse of you know how to respect all others and not wish any respect for us or expect anything in return, and to give each one the respect that they're fit to. Everybody's worth of respect, but that comes with spiritual advancement. The more we advance, we'll be able to know what to give to whom, and everybody is respected, of course. For example, in the Chiprai festival, and Raghunath Das, he keeps it quiet. He tells Raghunath
Das Goswami.
Yes, Panditji, Pandit, Raghava Pandit. He approaches him and he has 100 gold coins. And do you remember how many tolas of gold? I'm yet to find out what a tola is. Anyhow, he approaches him and he said, I leave this to you to decide who gets what. You can give 5 to 1, 5 coins, 1 coin, 15 coins, 20. But if I give to everybody the same amount, some will be offended. And so, and it won't be then respect to all. So it's a thing that comes with advancement. But I like that was one of the answers in the street that we used to give that Gaura brought up, is that we're made in the image of God. So God has an image. It's not that doesn't have one. But impersonalism permeated throughout all the different religions of the West, including Judaism. You know, by medieval times, Moses Muhammad he introduced that you can name God, you can pronounce the name, it's misinterpretations of different things like that. And then you have the changes that occur in Christianity with Luther and like that. They were burned with the Christian GBC, and so they created something that they, ended up being a very impersonal interpretation. But I think it's a touchy subject with some people, and so it's like, yeah, like Gaura was telling you, are you ready? I'll tell you this, but are you ready? Like Prabhupada would say, are you ready to hear it?
Yeah, because also it says in our Shastras, Sikarani, if you give milk and bananas to a snake, you'll just make him more venomous. You're feeding his envy. So it's the offense against the holy name. Don't preach to the faithless.
Yeah.
I mean, in one sense, everyone's faithless, but some are more faithless than others.
I'm gonna call him.
So the difference between a Kanishta Adhikari and a Madhyama Adhikari is a Madhyama Adhikari can sense who's actually envious, and they're not really ready to hear. So, like that saying, don't throw your pearls before swine. Not that they're swine, but they're just, their mentality may be swiney.
Well, you don't want that. You don't want to. This would happen a lot on the street. You don't want to feed in to give the person an opportunity to become more offensive. So
Right.
it's quite sort of nuanced. You have to know when to walk away.
Yeah.
So we want to give things to everyone, but I like my whole thing is really try and understand the mood of the person. Do they really want to know? Do they actually want to know?
Yeah.
I think you can tell that. You can at whatever stage you're at, I think you actually can tell that. And then you have to just know how to kind of politely backpedal when you realize that someone actually doesn't, whatever you say, they don't really, they're not going to accept what you say,
Here's one I learned from a book distributor, Godbrother Pragosh. If someone says, "Oh, I'm an atheist, I don't believe there's a God," and, "Oh, really? Okay. Well, do you have a father?" "Yeah." "Well, did your father have a father?" "Yeah, my grandfather." "Well, did your father's father have a grandfather?" "Yeah, my great-grandfather." "Well, which one of them didn't have a father?" Because that's what atheism means. At some point, there is no father. Here's another one that I like to use. Sikarani, let's say I just met you for the first time at RIT, okay? And so in the first 15 minutes, and I would say, in the short time that I've met you, I noticed that you have a personality unlike anybody I've ever met before. And usually when I say that to people, they go, "Oh, thank you very much." They take it as a compliment. I say, "Yeah, you're like unlike anybody I've ever met before." And they go, "Oh, thank you." And then I've noticed you have intelligence because like you ponder things. You're thinking, okay. And I've also noticed you have emotions. Sometimes you're smiling, sometimes you're thoughtful, quiet, okay. And I can tell that that there's somebody home. That you have consciousness. There's consciousness present in your body. And they go, "Well, I hope so," or whatever, they make a little joke. And then I'll say, so if I see you as an effect of some cause, there's something that's causing you, and you're an effect of that cause. Does it make any sense that you, who possess a personality, consciousness, intelligence, and emotions, are coming from a source that has no personality, no consciousness, no intelligence, no emotions? Because if you accept the second premise, then what you're saying is that you, the effect, are greater than your cause, that you possess qualities that don't exist in the source that you're coming from. Do you follow the argument? Do you like
No,
it?
I
like
I like this one the most.
Good. I've used that on people over the years, and it gets them thinking, and they have a hard time like rejecting it. What do you think, Nandapatni? Do you like that example?
Yeah, it's good. These are all the old
Yeah.
all the old memories coming out here of
Coming from Prabhupada, ultimately, it's all coming from.
Yeah. You just you find your way with people in the end. Yeah.
Did you have a father? Did your father have a father? Did your father's father have a father? Your father's father have a father? Yeah. Well, which one didn't have a father? Because that's what you're telling me right now. At some point, there was no father. The atheist, right? They're saying like that. They may not say there was no father.
They're happy with the Big Bang, though. They kind of try and get you on the Big Bang, but at a certain point, like I say, if they're going to be receptive or they're not. But sometimes I agree, you can, present a great logical argument and they're stumped, and then they sort of go, okay, I surrender, cool. You got me.
Where's my japa beads?
Hare Krishna, have a donation.
Where's my...
And they will come to Hare Krishna. Maybe they will join us sometime.
Oh yeah. People would, yeah.
Well, our job, Shikarani, is to invest in you and imbibe in you and empower you with all the years of experience we've had as preachers, because you're also meant to be Prabhupada's girl, Prabhupada's fired up preacher.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Ah, yes. We want to see the Indian, because our impression, is sometimes the Indian people, they're kind of like, Om Shanti Shanti.
Diplomatic.
Yeah, diplomatic, and Hinduism is not evangelical. It's like
I think
Yatamat Tatapat. Have you heard that before? Yatamat Tatapat.
I have heard that, but I don't remember right now.
What does that mean, Nandapatni? Do you know?
I forget the translation. I mean, it was common vernacular back in
Nirhari will know. Yatamat Tatapat, Nirhari. It means it's a teaching of Vivekananda, a bogus teaching that whatever way you think is the way to perfection.
Oh yeah, like you can have different paths to the
They all
ultimate
lead to
truth.
the same
But
boat.
Krishna does not say that. Krishna says, Yanti deva vrata devan patrin yanti patrivrataha yanti bhutani bhuteja yanti madhyajino pimam yanti deva. Those who worship the devatas, they go to the devatas. Yanti deva vrata devan pitrin yanti. Those who worship the pitris, the forefathers, they go wherever their forefathers are. Yanti bhutani. Those who worship the ghosts, black magic and the dark side, that's where they go. But Krishna says those who worship me, they never take birth in this material world again.
Dharma, parichaja.
So it's not the same. It's not that if I buy a bus ticket from where I am here in Erin, I want to come and visit you in Rochester, but my bus ticket goes to Toronto, it's not going to take me to Rochester. It's not one ticket buys all.
Yeah, and that's what I also thought, because sometimes there will be somebody who will be telling like, oh, my way of getting to God is just killing everyone. So I'll kill everyone and I'll get to God because that's my way. That's my path. So I don't think so. And I always think like, if I am on the correct path, and like, because I have seen people, you guys have also seen people kind of blowing up themselves on the name of God because they think that's the correct path and just become a human bomb. So it's very important to know what's the correct path. Very important.
That, yes, and Krishna gives it in Bhagavad Gita. So you can start now with your preaching, Sikarani. I made many friends through you in Rochester. I met, I forget what his Kannada. I don't know what his initiated name is now. Kannada.
Kanana Prabhu, Kishori Mohan Das, Priya Mataji is Pavitra Renu Das. Then there is Brand Prabhu, whom you never met, but he is also very good devotee. He is called Balaram Das Prabhu now, and he might be becoming a brahmachari. He's
Very
trying
good.
to be.
So did you tell any of them that we're doing these readings from Prabhupada's books 3 nights a week? Did you tell?
I have told Karan Prabhu, he told me that he will join sometime. But I know that like there are many these type of preachings happening. So they are mostly always attending one of the other. So
Give them the link. That'll make it easier.
Yeah, sure, Prabhu.
I'd like to see some of our friends there. I haven't seen, what's his name? Govinda? Ishvara Govinda?
Yeah, he's also tensed about the whole Ukraine situation.
Yeah, so take away some of his tension and bring him. We'll be reading about Lord Chaitanya preparing for Gaur Purnima.
Sure, Prabhu. Yeah.
Sorry you couldn't be with us, Sangi, but thank you for being here. Baba Trini, did you say something?
Yes, where are you going in the morning?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm going to take this mic and I'm going to take this audio interface that was given to me as a gift.
Oh, nice. Very good.
Oh, nice.
And there's this devotee, Henry Krishna. He invited me to his place in Hamilton, and I want to learn the process of home recording from him because I don't really, I don't understand the procedure between hooking up a laptop with an audio. Maybe it's much easier than I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I want to learn how, and then plug my guitar in, plug my harmonium in, and I want to start making 108 recordings of the 1008 recordings of the Hare Krishna mantra.
Wow.
Yay.
Yay.
Let us know how it goes, because
Yeah.
we had that problem in Zoom, trying to, they asked us to perform or play
Yeah.
and sing, and you too, and like you were saying, my guitar goes in and out and stuff like that, and I got the best that they offer there in mics, but I don't know they said, of course, our computer, they said, is obsolete, so I had no parts to repair.
Yeah, we
it
can't
with.
get our
So
computer
now we have
compared,
to
our laptop.
save some money for the next computer. But you were showing that equipment.
Mahatma told me it's got a lot to do with the mic, the quality of the mic that you're using. Not you're using, but
Yeah,
I'm using.
right. Yes. Because I've seen some devotees like Madhukar, Rishabdev's son, he has it. It looks like state-of-the-art mic, and when he sings, he plays them. Oh, he sings like amazing, like Gandharva, amazing, and plays great mridanga, and everything comes out like real nice, crisp, perfect.
Find out his
So
equipment, what kind of equipment is he using? Find out.
well, I had to find out because he's in India, and I don't know if he got that from his parents or order it online. I don't know.
So I've got to get up early.
India has come a long way.
Okay, I got to get up early tomorrow morning. Means I got to get to bed.
Hey,
Yes,
thank you,
and
Gaura.
offer our dandavats to Bhakta Henry
I will
Krishna.
do that. I will do that. Yeah, I'm
And
thanking.
ask him to come back and lead a piano kirtan for us.
There's been demands for him. Yeah,
Okay.
All right.
maybe from that. Maybe for
All
this
the best
Wednesday.
tomorrow.
All right. Good night, everyone. Vanchakopa
Namo Namaha. Hare